Hello. Welcome,
Happy
everyone.
Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
That was good.
Oh, what a sweet tune that was, man. I was about to just launch into an intro, but I have to say, it is so fantastic to see all your faces here. So I feel like I needed a moment now knowing that we're live. We were chatting behind and I was like, oh, this is amazing. You guys, welcome. Happy Sunday. For everyone joining us, you guys, it's amazing. Look at the rock stars we have here today. I thought we would all just do a quick introduction. So Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes. On the
Yes.
Sunday of December. So this is probably going to be very helpful for those of us humans that are starting to stress out about many things as well.
Such an important topic today on all things stress in cats during the holidays. And this was Pam's beautiful idea. Pam Roussel with Complete Holistic right up here. I believe you guys are seeing the same thing I'm seeing. So,
Raise your hand, Pam.
So Pam is right here. Yes. Beautiful idea, because we've got so many different perspectives when it comes to stress. And I know that all 5 of us deal with stress in cats quite a bit. So we thought we'd come live here and just chat about it with you guys. I see if you guys have questions about stress in your cats, go ahead and start dropping them in the comments, because we will be answering questions throughout the entire thing live. So
hi, you guys. So let's start with a quick intro for everyone joining us that hasn't met everyone here. Obviously, that's Jay. I'm Adrian.
And together we are the Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
Pam, this is your idea. Let's start with you in a quick intro. Let everybody know who you are.
Well, thanks, guys, so much. I'm so glad to have all of you here. I'm Pam Roussel. I'm with Perfectly Holistic. I'm a holistic health coach for cats. I'm an animal intuitive and energy work healer. I love working with cats. It is my passion. They are so underserved in the pet industry. And so basically, I help cats and their cat parents figure out how to provide alternative and holistic health approaches for wellness, and whether that be emotional or physical or spiritual wellness, resolving issues and helping them get on the right track with their overall well-being. So it's so fun. So that's what I do. And so yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys, if you don't follow Pam, you need to. Perfectly Holistic. That's PURRR FeckleyHolistic.com. Yes, check out her website. She has been a wonderful tool in our toolbox, and she's helped our kitties in so many ways and continues to. So yes, thank you. We also have the beautiful Julie Ann Thorne here from the UK, where it is actually still Sunday. Yes,
it is 7 p.m. So just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again, Pam and Jane, Adrian, for having me here. And time with Katie is always a dream. So we are like the dream team here this evening. So I am a holistic cat therapist, behaviorist, and author. So I, very similar to Pam, help people that have got problems with their cats, and I use a mixture of environment enrichment, behavior modification, so the normal kind of behavior tools, but I also use energy work, healing, and my secret weapon, which is botanical remedies. So mainly dried herbs, sometimes essential oils, to try to help shift emotional blocks, physical issues. And it's all about that holistic approach for me. So it's about seeing the cat as a being and making sure that they are supported mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So I'm really passionate about trying to help people understand their cats and to help them reconnect. So talking about stressing cats tonight and helping guardians over Christmas is like totally my bag.
Oh yeah.
Love it. Yes. And then of course our resident beautiful veterinarian. We're keeping you forever. Dr. Katie Woodley.
The natural pet doctor.
Yes.
Oh, thanks so much. And I'm truly blessed to be in this amazing group of women. And Pam, thank you so much for putting this together. And Jane, Adrian, and Julianne. I love coming all together to help pet parents. So essentially, I'm a holistic veterinarian, the natural pet doctor, and I help pet parents, so dogs and cats. But I got a special place in my heart. I got 3 little black kitties in my life right now, and I help them through whole food nutrition. I do acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, essential oils. And what I love is looking at the root cause, the root foundations of how we achieve optimal health for our pets, and looking at environment and how we play a part into their overall health. So I feel like we all are on like a similar theme here, that holistic health, and how we can really help empower pet parents to achieve optimal health, to keep their pets feeling the best as long as possible. So thank you so much again for having me here.
Yeah.
Really.
Actually, that's a great tip off here, because we want to get to the root of the matter, regardless of what it is that our animals are dealing with, right? So what do you guys see as more of like the causes of stress when it comes to, and around the holiday specifically?
Well, yeah, and I think too, to help people understand what stress looks like
Yeah.
for our cats.
Mhm.
That's something that
It's hard to identify
Right.
sometimes.
That's true. That's
Who
really
wants to go
true.
first?
I'll go first.
Go,
I-
Pam. Go, Pam.
I think that most, like, even some of the clients that just reached out to me today said, we're going to be out of town for 5 days. I want my cats freaking out, because they're going to have maybe a house sitter, somebody strange coming into their home, and, their whole routine is going to be a little disrupted. So just having the pet parents not being there when they're used to being there, that can be very stressful for the cats in a major way. Or the opposite, maybe you have people coming in and staying with you that they're not familiar with, strangers in their environment. So that can be really, really freaking out for them, going, who are these people? And, they kind of skirt close to the floor, they slink along and around the perimeters of the room, or like, oh, I don't know about that person over there. But just different noises, different sounds, different smells in their home that can be very stressful for a cat.
Yeah, sometimes it's the smallest things that can really freak out our cats. And I know that the adoption rate was, or rescue rate was really up during the pandemic. And we've got a couple COVID babies, as we call them ourselves. And anytime we have somebody new in the house, they are in the closet. They are hiding.
Yeah.
Julian?
Yeah. And I think, just to go off Pam's point as well, energy can make a difference. So there's cats communicate, through sense of smell, and so people smell different. I'm not saying your guests that are turning up are a little bit whiffy, but to cats they do smell. I thought that'd make you laugh. That they have got a different scent profile, and every home has got a community scent, and when you've got visitors coming to stay, it'll unsettle things and make them, unbalanced. And when different energy comes into the home as well, that can also affect them. So you find that your cats can be fine one minute and not the next. And it could just be that everybody sat down after Christmas Day dinner, so everyone's slumping a little, energy wise, your tummy's full. And that might be when the cats actually decide to approach people or to see what's going on. But it's not just when we're still and we're settled, because our energy is all over the place. So, when you've got people that come to stay, don't worry if your cat hides away a little. As you said, I've also got a COVID cat, Leo, and, he is super, super nervous. And I've said to family this year, don't hate me for it, but I've said we don't want people this year. So we've made a choice, and I know that's not easy for everyone, but it is something to think about. If you normally have loads of people come to stay, does it feel right? Is it appropriate for you and your family, cats and dogs and other animals? If you are worried that they'll get extra stressed, or that they're going to potentially be reactive for changes and people coming into the home, is it the right thing to do? I know that's not the conventional response, but it's just something that is an option on the table for everyone to consider.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that actually, when we're talking about energy, the studies are clear that our cats actually carry our energy too. And at this time of year, a lot of people are high stress, whether it be company coming over or having to travel, or none of the above.
Oh, what's going on?
At least the tree's still standing.
Just
The trees, the garland. Madison was just
fell off.
Yeah.
Almost. We caught her. So just in time.
Anyway, so when our stress is high, our cats also carry that stress. And I will tell you, and I don't know if you guys deal with the same or see this as often as I do, I feel like. But I notice more people have more sickly cats when they are very, and Pam, I bet you
stressed.
see this a lot too, when they themselves, the cat parent, is more of a high anxiety type of person or dealing with more stresses. And sometimes it goes back and forth. So your cat's a little sick, you get really stressed about it, and your cat gets more sick because of that. Do you see that a lot? Do you guys?
I do. I certainly do. And in fact, one of the clients that I was just emailing yesterday acknowledged that she recognizes that. She says, anytime I get super stressed, he gets super stressed, and it just perpetuates itself. She goes, so I really have to work on staying calm and just finding ways to alleviate my own stress so that he doesn't take it on. And I think that's very wise, because not everybody is that aware of the way their own stress affects their own cats in their home, or their pets in general in their home, because it is a very real thing. And a lot of times our pets will mirror, what's going on in us to kind of wake us up or get our attention. So it just depends on how perceptive we are, and what can we do to be more perceptive and be more aware, so that we can nip things in the bud before it becomes an issue.
Right. And it can definitely become an issue. I would say that stress is probably one of the leading causes of disease in our kitties too. Do you see that? Do you see that a lot, Dr. Katie?
Yeah, and I want to resonate with everyone else is saying. I think the biggest thing that I tend to see with my own patients is they do mirror those diseases that we have, and it's because of that energetic connection. And so if we're finding we're really stressed, there's already this level of stress with the craziness in the world, and then we bring the holidays in, and then like getting together and all the things that are happening. And if we're not recognizing that stress in ourselves, our cats are going to pick up on that. And so I think that's really, really important. And the other things that can play a part, the environment is huge. And so if we're not creating safe spaces for our cats where they can go, and what I loved about Julianne, like the cat goes under the bed, give them that space. What bed do they go under? Okay, that's the one that we're going to put the things in. They're going to have the beds, they're going to have the cat litter tray, the food, the water. That is their safe space, and we allow them that safe space. So if there's another room where if you have guests, maybe we put them in the other room so the cats have that space. And I think that's really important, is that whole environmental component that plays into the emotional health aspect. The other thing I see too a lot of times is we know about the gut-brain axis, right? Now I'm going a little bit deeper, but what we have is that emotional connection, and a lot of times the gut health is off. And so if we're not looking at, even for ourselves, right, that's where you get excited, you get the butterflies in your stomach, and you're like, ooh, but you're like sometimes, ooh, and then you get anxious and stressed, and you got to go to the bathroom, right? That's that gut-brain connection. So it can work either way.
Yeah.
And our cats have the same thing. And so if they get really stressed, a lot of times what we're seeing then is we're seeing a physical manifestation of disease, where we're seeing that they're pooping in the corner, they're having diarrhea, maybe they're vomiting more, they're urinating outside their litter tray. And so those can be some of the symptoms that you see, and they're not doing it to spite you. But if you're starting to notice some of those different behaviors and some of these medical conditions, potentially, that's stress. And if we don't treat the stress, we're going to not fix the problem, and we're only treating the symptoms. So I think that's a big thing too that we tend to forget, like the environment, the emotional connection, the connection to the gut health, and looking at what is the root cause of the symptom that we're seeing that's showing up as stress is very, very important, is commonly missed.
Yeah. And I think that's, in conventional medicine, we see it all the time, especially with like cystitis, for instance. We have, all the time. My cat, had a urinary infection, took him to the vet. They give him antibiotics. It gets better for a little while. It keeps coming back. What do I do? Because I just keep going back and getting, treating the symptoms and not the root cause, which, I think the study showed 75+% of the time it's actually reoccurring urinary infections are actually rooted in stress. But the gut brain concept, I love that. I was actually reading a study on that last night, and I think it was done on dogs. But same concept when it comes to what we eat is also, and we know that for ourselves, right? If we're eating a high amount of carbohydrates, even our doctors will tell us that. Unfortunately, veterinarians don't always do that, but our doctors will tell us you need to have a better diet, eat less carbs, and you'll be less stressed. And I think the same goes for our cats too.
Well, and Dr. Katie, I want to piggyback on top of what you were saying, and then maybe we can all just kind of address this to the best of our ability. But I really feel like, especially with something like FIC, that's a really difficult situation for humans to be in as well, right? They start peeing all over the place, which heightens the stress, which can really snowball the situation. What are some of your go-to helpful hints for cat parents that you do recognize, you've been able to diagnose this is something that is definitely a stress issue? How do you go about, what are some of your go-to hints for helping?
Yeah, definitely. So biggest thing, whenever you have a cat peeing outside the litter box, we need to identify, is there truly a bacterial infection? And so that's going to require urinalysis. So don't just take the antibiotics, because once again, we use antibiotics so inappropriately all the time, and we're messing up the gut health. We're messing up that microbiome, the good bacteria. That's a huge part of our pet's overall health. So making sure we're doing a urinalysis. And then also, if you're able to financially, doing that urine culture to see if the antibiotics you're using actually work against the bacteria that are present. So that's always the first step. Let's identify, is this just inflammation, probably from stress, or is this truly an infection? And then figure out, why are they getting repeat infections if that's happening? So that's always number one. Number two, usually it's stress. And so then that's when I'm looking at, well, what's going on in the environment? What's going on with the relationships in the household? And this is where we kind of go, even though I'm a veterinarian for pets, I do look at the relationships for people, because a lot of times what happens is someone, maybe your kid came home from college, or maybe you've been fighting with your spouse or your partner, and the cat's like, I don't like this, I'm going to go pee over here. And that's the response to it. And so if we miss that, the cat's going to continue that behavior. The other thing is making sure that you have enough litter trays in the household. So I always say, how many cats do you have? Add an additional one. So if I have 3, now I have 4 litter trays, which my husband is super excited about, by the way. But it's essential, because I don't want my cats peeing in other areas because they're stressed, or they start resource guarding for their litter boxes. Very, very important. Also making sure, does the cat have all of the things it needs to feel safe, to actually have the foundations of optimal health? Beds, safe places to hide if they want, places to go up high. My own Kiwi cat loves being up high. So if I didn't have all the cat towers that my husband loves are now multiplying because we got an additional cat, then we'd have a lot more stress. Also using things like Peel Away, the diffusers, the pheromones, the things that are going to help calm them. So I'll use a lot of herbs. A lot of times I'll use things like CBD also to help calm them. So natural components, natural nutraceuticals to help bring them back down and ground them. And I know Pam and Julianne have a lot of amazing tactics also that can come into play. Here's what I find too, is that sometimes one thing is not enough. When we're using the natural sides of treatment to help, especially with anxiety, we have to use what we call a multimodal approach. So we have to use sometimes a couple different supplements, a couple different herbs, make sure they're on a species appropriate diet, get them off of the kibble if you can. Remember, high carbs will affect microbiome. Our cats need protein. They're an obligate carnivore. They need protein in their diet. And those carbs will turn into sugar, and it's going to make them feel crazy. And a lot of times these foods, which we're going to be talking about, I know later on in this month, they have artificial flavors and colorings and things like that. And we know from the research on human side, especially for kids with like the colorings, it can increase anxiety and emotional disorders and behaviors and things like that. The same can happen for our pets. So those are kind of some of the quick things that I would look at doing for my own patients if we were dealing with a urinary problem.
I love that, and you kind of teed off Julianne perfectly, talking about some of the nutraceuticals and the herbs. And I just want to share a little testimony as well. We have a few of your herb gardens, and we were able to use those. We took a trip for the first time in 3 years, and we usually have issues with our Pooh Bear acting out in some way. He's a very high stress cat, and we've got a number, like you just mentioned, Dr. Katie, a multimodal approach is what we're using with him. But your herb garden was something that he was very excited about. And when we came home, he usually, even if he doesn't have an inflammation outbreak, he will usually let us know he's unhappy by pooping in front of the front door or something like that. That did not happen this time. So speak a little bit to, because it seems this is new for a lot of people. Speak a little bit to how that works with our cats.
Well, and do do you have like go-to herbs for stress, like specifically, or is it like per cat? Like, speak a little bit about that too, per situation.
Okay, so lovely. And I just want to say, great information from Dr. Katie. I'm like sitting here thinking, like, ticking all the boxes. We've done that. I've done that. Because even as a cat professional, you know, sometimes as a cat mum, you forget. So thank you, Katie.
Yes.
True.
So herbs, yes. So herbs. I trained in self-selection years ago and found out that you could put down dried herbs for cats and let them choose what they wanted to work with. And my mind was absolutely blown. And basically last year, I decided to create a shop to sell organic herbs to use with cats. And what the premise is that you get a blanket or a towel, something that you can move if necessary, and you put it down in a quiet space of the home. So particularly for Christmas, like we've said before, if you've got guests staying, think about perhaps putting it in your bedroom or somewhere where there's not a lot of foot traffic. And you put down a good pinch, like like half a handful, you know, not just like a tiny, like a pinch of salt. I'm talking like a good piece of a good bit of herb, and you let them choose. So some cats will rub and roll around on them and it goes everywhere. Other cats will just sit near them. And basically what's happening is they're choosing to work with the remedies that they need. So for example, as humans, we all know that if you have a cup of peppermint tea, it kind of cools your tummy and will settle, you know, indigestion or an upset tummy. Or if you're feeling particularly stressed, we will have a cup of chamomile tea. And it's exactly the same for cats. So basically, chamomile, great herb to use at Christmas. You know, it's calming, it soothes anxiety, but also valerian, which I have to say smells to me like sweaty feet. I hate it, absolutely hate it, but it is so stinky. I've got a client that has valerian tea. I don't know how she does it, but valerian root is hugely popular with cats, much more so than catnip. And actually it's got great properties. So it helps to soothe the body, it reduces anxiety, it reduces stress, it's a calmative, it even helps with pain in the body. It's an absolutely fabulous remedy. So basically you get some herbs, you put them down, and you let your cat use them as and when they want to. So some cats will go to it straight away. Some cats will take a while to open up to it, to kind of lean into the healing. So it takes a while for cats to be vulnerable, to be able to heal. So if you've got guests that come to stay, or the house is particularly noisy or busy, you might not find the cat go to the herb garden straight away, because they're in that fight or flight mode. So they're in that kind of awareness, you know, anxiety's high, adrenaline's coursing through their body, and they need to be protective of themselves. But what you might find is when everybody's asleep and the house is more quiet, they then go to the herb garden, and you come downstairs in the morning and you find that it's been disturbed or slightly disheveled. So the premise of the herbs is really to give the cats an emotional support tool. You know, I've put together, like this year, a calming Christmas selection box. So I've got 10 herbs in a packet that basically are all organic, and they're to help your cat calm and soothe themselves. So it includes like valerian and chamomile. I've also got like rosebuds, which are beautifully nurturing. So when your cat their stress level is increasing, they've got the opportunity to go and use these remedies. So it's about giving them an option, giving them a choice, allowing them to self-soothe, which like Dr. Katie said, if they like to be up high, give them that space. If they like to hide away, which is what Leo does, give them that space. Putting a herb garden down allows them to deal with that emotional stress, that emotional anxiety that can come from all the changes in the home. So it works on the limbic system in the brain, it works on the emotional state in the body. So it's just fabulous. I could talk, like Katie said about food, I could talk about herbs for another hour. So I will leave it there. But if anyone's got questions about herbs, please drop them in the comments. And I'll answer
you guys, you dropping any questions you have in the comments. We'll try to keep up with them. But I do want to say, Pam, so, you know, we're looking at these hints and tips and tricks to help identify stress, soothe stress. What I think is so fascinating about you, and something that we've been continually grateful for, is that you are so helpful in helping us identify what the stressor is. And I find it, I call you the woo-woo the woo-woo one,
Woo-woo.
because I really didn't understand what you did initially years ago when we met. But it's incredible, you know, as an example, our cats had an issue in the garage one day. They turned on each other, and then everyone was acting very stressed. And of course, we reached out to you trying to find out what the stressor was, and you're able to identify kind of what's going on and help cleanse that energy. Can you help explain how it is that you're able to help us identify what's going on?
From Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I work with muscle testing or energy testing, and I basically use a photo of the cat because the cat's energy is resonating from that photo, whether it's this, I mean, it's basically the same if it's in person with me or if it's remotely, because there's a concept or a law of physics called quantum entanglement. And basically everything is energetic, and on some level, every bit of energy is connected to each other in the universe. So that's why I can influence from where I am to another person or pet, wherever they are, as long as I have a connection to them, like with their photo or with, you know, even in you talk about a real woo-woo world, but even if I just think of them in my mind, if I know the person or if I know the cat, then I can just think of them and ask them questions, test energy or whatever, because we're like connected, you know? So basically I can go through and do an evaluation and just ask the body a bunch of questions and identify the triggers, identify the stressors, because I have put together, collected a lot of those more common stressors, triggers, or whatever that affect cats more so than other animals or whatever. And so I can easily just go through like my little checklist, and then we can check, you know, other family members, we can check house guests, we can check pet family members, you know, if like in your case, it was 2 or 3 cats that kind of got into a little tiff together, and all 3 of them had emotions that were resonating. Sometimes you don't necessarily know who was involved, but again, energy work and muscle testing, energy testing can help identify culprits, who peed outside the box, you know, when you're in a multi-cat household, who's pooping on the floor, oh, who threw up that day, you know, because you come and you find it, and you didn't see it happen, so you don't know, but you can ask these questions and get answers. It's really, really amazing. So, and then the energy healing work is basically a modality of like energy medicine, and to release and clear those stressors or blocks that are impacting, you know, the flow of energy in the body. And that works on a physical, emotional, spiritual level. So, yeah.
And there's a lot of homeopathics too, like homeopathy remedies that you recommend, and I believe Dr. Katie does too, for, you know, specific issues. Can you speak to some of those that, I mean, I know it's like on a per cat basis, but specific, you know, remedies that might help?
Yeah, so let's talk specifically about like the UTI or the cystitis kind of things. There are several homeopathic remedies that you can use that are really, really effective. And in using homeopathy, it's all based on symptoms. So we look at the symptoms that match the remedy, and then I muscle test to make sure that this is really a match for this particular cat or situation, so that then I can determine protocols. Okay, well, if this is the remedy, you're going to need to take it once, twice a day for X amount of days, and then maybe we need to reduce the dose, maybe we don't. But it gives you like a specific protocol to follow. But there are several great remedies. For example, Cantharis is one, Equisetum, Lycopodium. Oh, I just went blank. There's like a list of all different kinds of remedies, just specifically that work for bladder and cystitis kind of issues.
And those you can get those at just your local Whole Food store, or like
yeah, they come in little tubes, and it's all it's basically energy medicine, because homeopathy in the potencies that are like 30C, 200C and higher, There's no actual trace element of any of the original substance in the remedy. It's all energetic. So that original solution has been diluted and diluted and diluted. And so all you have left are the energetics of the original substance. And that can affect a change to bring the body back into balance. Homeopathy is one of my favorite things to use for cats. Number one, it's when you're making a remedy, the way I was taught by holistic homeopathic vets is to just dilute 3 pellets of that particular remedy in about half a cup of filtered or purified or spring water. And then you just take a syringe, you pull out a half a milliliter, and then I cover the tip with my finger and I succuss it really hard. It just kind of makes the energy energized. And then you just squirt it in their mouth, or you can put it on a little bit of, a wet treat or something. And that's it. There's no bad taste. It's basically water, and it works fast. I mean, I've had some cats turn around within, a day and a half, clear up a UTI.
Wow.
It's pretty quick. It's pretty amazing how awesome that is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Katie, I have to ask, as a veterinarian, and especially since I come from like the land of that's woo woo. Okay.
It's woo woo.
What have you seen as far as using homeopathies? You use so many different modalities in your practice, and I'm just so I think it's very empowering for all of us cat parents to recognize from a conventionally trained veterinarian these things that are actually very easy to implement and really help get to the root of issues.
Well, and I want to say that, like, I think it's so important that we're taking all of these different routes, whether it's, products, whether it's environmental, things like that, because especially when it comes to our cats, the conventional answer for stress is usually a Prozac or a Xanax or something that is going to make our cats a shell of their former selves. And that's what we hear every time they're on these medications, is that now they're just they just sleep all the time, or they are, don't seem happy anymore. So yeah, whatever.
Or worse, they're having side effects.
Or having
Yes.
the side effects. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's personal story. Before I became like Chinese herbal medicine certified and started down the integrated path, my own cat years ago, she's not with us anymore. But she was really stressed. We moved from New Zealand to the States, and then we had 2 cats and our German Shepherd, and she destroyed our house, peeing everywhere. So what did I do? As a young veterinarian, the only things I knew to do, I put her on Prozac. And I will never forget what it made her do. She sat on the couch like this. And that was it. And I was like, nope, we're not doing this. I completely just zoned out. And talking to family members that have taken those too, there is a time and a place for those medications, and they're necessary for some people and for some pets. However, I have heard like it numbs you. And so I saw that with my Callie cat, and she just literally, I took her off of it, and I said, we have to find another way. We found out later a cat from outside was coming to the window and looking at her, because I came home one day and this cat's peering in the window, and I'm like, there it is. Had no idea. And so then, we changed the environment and put the blinds down, and it helped significantly, right? We also had to replace our entire carpet in our house. But that was okay. That's besides the point. But the thing is what I found now by learning about all these different modalities, homeopathy is very powerful. I don't know a ton about homeopathy, but that's where I refer to people like Julianne and Pam and other people that use that modality, because it can work really, really well. It can be easy to give to cats for that very reason Pam mentioned, where it doesn't taste bad. But also, I'll look at each pet as an individual too, and look at, maybe they do need some Chinese herbs based on their individual constitution. Are they really, really stressed? What's their personality like? Do they have some what we call like spleen qi deficiency? Their digestion is off. We have a lot of heat in the body. What are the different herbs that we can use based on that cat? If they're not taking it, okay, let's look at acupuncture, or even teaching people how to use acupressure. So this point right here is very calming. There's also this point, and if you follow all the way down the back of your neck and down your spine, just like 1 centimeter off to the side of your spine, that is very powerful. It's called the bladder meridian that runs down. This is our GB line, right down the middle, and then we have our bladder line. Just by massaging. So when I won't wake him up. But if I were to just go up to Tico behind me and just massage, gentle massage, what you're doing just by doing that, just gentle pressure, you're actually stimulating the brain to produce natural endorphins and opioids. So you're helping to calm. Yes, these do things based on Chinese medicine also, but from like a conventional medical like standpoint, we can help the body calm down. We're stimulating parasympathetic rather than the sympathetic nervous system, and we're getting them to really ground themselves and calm down. And I guarantee most cats love that. They love that gentle pressure. Now, if they don't stop doing it, don't force it on your cat, just like everything we're saying. But this is an easy way for you, if you don't have access to an acupuncturist or those types of modalities, just have them sit in your lap if they want to sit in your lap, or sit next to them wherever they're comfortable, and start gently massaging along that area. And you're stimulating these acupressure points that are going to help calm them. And so
I swear to God, you like always blow my mind every time. We've always done that. We're like, Pooh Bear just loves this. He's our high school cat. He always
I love that.
never
it's your yin tong point. Yeah. So this is
what?
Yin tong. So your yin tong point.
I
So
never knew that, but
She's
he
gonna
always
ask
loves
for that massage after this live. You
there you go, just like gentle, like
Yeah.
honestly. And you don't have to be exact. That's what's really neat. It doesn't cost any money. It's not stressful. It's like if you're already probably petting your cat anyways, but by focusing on those points, you can help calm them down. And so
you're probably sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, like you just said about, you don't have to force it on them. And, even if you just roughly do it, you'll find that cats will lean into it. If they are in the emotional place where they can accept this from you, this acupressure, this sort of massage, they will lean into it. They will move their head, they'll move their body, and they will tell you that they want it because they are so connected with you. Sorry, Katie, go on.
No, I love that. That's amazing. And I think that's a great tool for pet parents to look at. Does my cat enjoy this? How are they responding? And when we start, like, this is the cool thing that I love about this conversation, is when we start paying attention to how are our pets responding, how does it make us feel, and we start tapping into our own emotions, we get this like heart coherence with our pets. And that's what we can tap into. And then we start having like this energetic connection with them, and everyone just feels the benefits of it. And I think we become so disconnected from the way we feel, right? Like we're so used to like numbing ourselves. Like I'm notorious for it. It'll be fine. I'm stressed. It'll be fine. And then my cats are like, you're not fine. I'm not fine. And then they're like crazy and fighting. And then when I ground myself and I focus on them and I focus on how I feel and I take those deep breaths, it really just brings the sense of peace to the household, and it calms everyone down. And that's so important, especially like during this crazy holiday season. Like when you come in from the crazy shopping, I don't know who here likes Christmas shopping. I hate going out Christmas shopping. It is so stressful for me. Like the traffic, people are crazy. Like just everyone's ramped up, and you get home and you're bringing all that energy in with you. And I think it's important for people, whether it's a long day at work, whether it's Christmas shopping, whether you just went through crazy rush hour traffic, sit in your car and literally like have maybe some calming essential oils with you, like just even lavender essential oil, and smell it and just sit there, close your eyes and take a couple deep breaths before you walk into your house. Because I think we saw Madison comment, like every time my husband comes home, the cats go wild. They're sensing our energy. And if we can do some of these small things that add up to amazing benefits in the whole household for the energy, it will help them emotionally, it'll help them physically. And I can tell you 100%, those small things add up to amazing health overall. So start with that, ground yourself, massage your cats, focus on some of those points that I mentioned for like acupressure and just gentle massage, and then incorporate all the other amazing tools that Pam and Julianne are giving people. And that combination is going to make a huge difference for your holiday season this year if you start integrating those in.
Yeah. And I like that for yourself too. I'll say I use a lot of music therapy because music really, for me, it just really calms me. So calming music. I'll use it for myself, and then the cats are a part of it because they have to listen to my music too. I did want to ask a question. So for those that don't necessarily understand Chinese herbs, are Chinese herbs,
Herbs.
herbs, Chinese herbs. And how do they differ from, say, Julienne's herbs? And then how do you go about, and do you have any like go-to when it comes to like stress specifically?
You know, the Chinese herbs are going to be a little bit different a lot of times. So they're both using like plant components. And the Chinese herbs, I mean, they're very similar principles. Don't you agree? Like, Julie, in terms of like your Western herbs versus Chinese herbs, they're just used differently. Chinese herbs tend to be used in combination. So we're basing it off of also the individual pet and the constitution. So when we talk about like the heart, and we're talking about how is that connected to, so spleen is digestion, how is it connected to the kidneys in the body? When we explain it from a Chinese medicine perspective, I kind of refer to it as like speaking in terms of metaphors, right? Where, you know, everything is working together. And when things are off, then that's when we start seeing, like, if the digestion is off, we might see like, or let's actually focus on kidney disease for cats. So the kidneys are the fire that are stoking the digestive power. And when kidneys are weak in the body, so say we have something like kidney disease, then the digestion may not work as well. And so when we use Chinese herbal formulas, we're using herbs, say like Romania, that are going to help boost circulation to the kidneys and support kidney qi tonic. And then we're also going to use a formula so this formula also has stuff to support digestion and maybe help leach what we call dampness or inflammation. So we talk about them in a very different way. And a lot of times we're not using one herb by itself. Whereas when I combine it, say if I am using Western herbs, I love using chamomile. And so especially when we are dealing with stress, and we can use chamomile also for digestion. So for like, if, you know, a lot of times we have multiple things, but going back to what's the root cause, how do we use these herbs to rebalance that root cause? And I'll use Western herbs and Chinese herbs together if needed based on that individual pet. So very similar. We kind of talk about them in different ways. And then we use Chinese herbs based on the principles of Chinese medicine. That makes sense.
I also didn't know that it is pronounced chamomile.
Chamomile.
I've always said chamomile.
I know.
Oh, I don't know. See, so Julianne, I know they're making fun of you right now, but
No,
no. So here's the funny thing, though. This is this is a conversation every day in my household because my husband's Kiwi. So living in New Zealand, we would always say, I'd be like, do you want the herbs or the herbs? And the herbal garden and all the different ways of like, and we just make, you know, like all the different ways of saying things. And so when I first moved back to the States, it was so funny because you may understand this, Julianne. Do you call like the kibble biscuits like Bickies?
Biscuits. Kibble is like such a US word.
Biscuit. Yeah. And so when I first worked in the States, I remember asking a client, I was like, are you feeding like biscuits? And they were like, should I be feeding my cat biscuits? And like my cat was like, who is this crazy new vet? And it was just because I picked it up in New Zealand and brought it back. So I just thought that would be funny for everyone. So I totally understand.
That is hilarious. The first time I got that, I had to do a Google search. I'm like, biscuits for cats? And
don't feed your cat biscuits. No biscuits, regardless of whether we're thinking biscuits US or biscuits in the UK or Kiwi version. Just feed them, get them on canned food or freeze dried or raw if you can.
Moisture rich food.
Well, I have to say that's actually a great segue. I know, Jay, you look like you were going to say something, but can I just quickly do this first? Katie mentioned about food, you know, and I think something that is maybe a UK thing, I don't know, but when it comes to Christmas Day, we will have a special lunch. You know, you generally like overeat, you have your big turkey or whatever, and you know, I think a lot of us like to bring our cats into that and to give them something nice on Christmas Day lunch. And it's, you know, it's important to note that it's really great to include them in things that are going on if they're obviously interested in it. But we need to be mindful if we give them something different for Christmas Day lunch because it's special, it might upset their digestion. It might make them, you know, it might have a bad effect on their body. Mm-hmm. So what we used to do with Pickle, bless her, may she be at peace in the light, we used to give her a little bit of meat. So, I mean, I'm vegan, I don't eat it, but my husband would generally have some sort of like turkey or chicken breast with his Christmas Day lunch, you know, a massive load of vegetables. And what we would do, much to his disgust, but cut off a little corner and just have like, say, 3 or 4 pieces of turkey or chicken and she would have that at her normal meal time just before her food. So it wasn't a whole plate of food. It wasn't, you know, a rich dinner, because, you know, pet food companies as well, they'll bring out, you know, a Christmas Day lunch and a sachet or a tin. And as lovely as it is in terms of marketing, you know, it's going to it could potentially upset your cat's digestion. So have a think about if you want to give your cat a treat on Christmas Day. And I'm sure Katie and Pam have got some extra words of wisdom to go with this. You know, think about portion size, think about it being some form of plain protein or something that's not too dissimilar to what you're feeding. So if you're already feeding biscuits, perhaps feed a slightly different flavor rather than a different flavor and a different brand. You know, if you're feeding wet food, have a think about whether you can give them, you know, perhaps a quarter of this Christmas Day dinner with their normal food. You know, give them something that's a little bit nice and a little bit different, but try not to go sort of too far off their regular routine, because if they've got digestion upsets, that can also affect their emotional state when they're dealing with the family and the presents and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll say that, you know, one of the reasons that we are very adamant about diversity in diet too, is because of that. If something changes, if the food, you know, food company goes under or sells out, or your cat becomes there's a recall, or your cat becomes allergic to or sensitive to that ingredient because they're eating it over and over and over again. We're very adamant about preaching, whatever, about diversity in diet and feeding your cats. Even if you're feeding biscuits, feed, you know, different types of biscuits, add in some wet food, add in some fresh food, like if you can, and you have to go slowly, especially with cats that have, you know, sensitive tummies, or that have been fed, like you said, the same thing every day, every meal. Then just, you know, switching it up can absolutely cause digestive issues.
And I wanted to piggyback. I think we've all kind of touched on how often we as cat parents are contributing to stressors that our cats may be dealing with. And Julianne, you mentioned earlier when Dr. Katie was talking about how cats, when you're playing with their that acupuncture, what is it, yin tong area, that they'll lean into it. And Pam, I wanted to kind of ask you. I remember when you did the full health analysis on Pooh Bear and I think Oliver Twist and Zorro, in fact, you were identifying stressors that they were dealing with. And I remember you, I think it was Zorro, or I can't remember which one. We were the stressors.
Yeah.
We were actually stressors.
Oh, I was a stressor for all of them.
Well,
She says proudly.
I'm joking, but I do, and I recall, and I want to kind of lump this in. I was texting with somebody who said, I just came home from a terrible day. All I wanted was to hold my cat and know that my cat loves me. And she pushed away from me. She actually scratched me. And then now she won't snuggle me. And I think that's a question we get often as well, is why won't my cat let me pet him? Why won't my cat sit in my lap? Why won't my cat let me pick him up? And I think, you know, yes, they're outrageously and irresistibly adorable, and we want to hold them and love them. But we're speaking about them being individuals. And I think understanding those boundaries. And Pam, I'm just going to kick it to you, because I think so often we don't recognize that even how we may be treating them because of what we want from them may be a stressor as well.
Yeah, what I have learned just in the last year, I mean, it was kind of one of those aha moments, like, wow, why didn't I think of this earlier? When trying to identify stressors, like common stressors with cats, I mean, they are very, very different. They've all had different upbringing. Some have been shelter environments. Some have gone through physical abuse situations. Some have been abandoned and lost in the streets. And, you know, they're scooped up and taken to this rescue center, and then they're rehomed. And you don't think about all of the little emotional traumas that can be stored in the memory centers based on each one of those type of situations. So it's like that gets programmed into their memory center. As some cats, if they weren't handled when they were little, like picked up and cuddled a lot and socialized in that way, maybe they don't like being held. They don't like to be picked up. They're just not comfortable with that for whatever reason. So those, I've been able to identify that those can be actually triggers, emotional triggers. So one of the things that I've learned how to do is just kind of go through a checklist and just try to identify those kind of stressors, and then all the emotions that were locked in to that particular event or time in their period in their life. And there's neurotransmitters that were involved that all creates this imbalance in the brain, and it's exhibited in their behavior. Even the pet owners, like you were describing, we can become stressors because we're the ones trying to pick them up. We're the ones trying to cuddle them. We're the ones giving them medication. We're the ones that come home all stressed out, like you were saying, and been in traffic, and we're just like, or we're really angry because something happened at work, or we're in a fight with our family member or something. So again, they truly sense all of that energy, and they pick up on it, and it can be very repelling. It's like, no, I can't be around you right now. It's too much negative energy going along. So energy work basically can kind of release all of those triggers, all of those stressors on a cellular level. I've learned how to figure out how to release specific incidents and all of the emotions and triggers associated with that particular happening in the brain, in the memory center that was stored in, so that they can just let it go. And it's really, really cool. So,
It really is. I remember when you released Stressors, one of the first times that we met with you about Pooh Bear. We didn't know, we had done all the paperwork, and we didn't know exactly when you were going to do your hoodly doodly woo woo thing. And it turned out that you did it on a Thursday night, and we knew the moment because we went to bed, and Pooh Bear came up on the bed next to Jay. Never happened before. And we were like, oh my
Jay
God.
was a stressor to him.
Yeah.
And and you were like, what? And you almost got your feelings hurt. It's like, I'm a stressor.
I know. The first time I was like, of course I am. But no, when he came up on the bed, and it had never happened before. And we were like,
oh my God. And we had to ask, we're like, when did you do this? Because this was an incredible moment. And like Dr. Katie said, though, too, we can do so much to help contribute by taking that moment and grounding ourselves before. And I want to.
And here's a question. There's some questions coming in, but for Dr. Katie, Sarah from YouTube said, I suffer from seasonal depression due to my mom passing away in December, and I'm fighting it again. And I'm noticing that Bear, one of her cats, and my boyfriend started to get his, and he's a CH kitty as well, Dr. Katie. Well, no, he's not. He's got a neurological issue, but it's not CH. Starting to get his usual winter URI. Is it because of me?
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's not always going to be 100% because of that person. So, because that will create more stress, right? So we don't want that. What I would look at though is the energy has shifted in the house. And so this is where I tend to go back to, this is, once again, I am a veterinarian. I'm not a human psychiatrist or psychologist, but what I found really works for me when I'm going through really stressful times is that every morning I do a gratitude journal. And I sit and I just write the things that I'm grateful for. So having a mother pass away is very traumatic. And I can't imagine my mom passing away. And one of the things that you try to do is look at what are the things we're grateful for. Maybe it's a matter of reflecting on all the beautiful moments you had with your mother and bringing up that joy and feeling that love that was there and looking at it in a positive light and having if your cat's around you, they can come with you and having a moment each morning. And it's not always as easy as I'm saying it. Of course, I understand that, but the gratitude is a huge piece. And there's a lot of studies and research around gratitude and helping release a lot of this emotional stress and helping us get through that. The other thing that I look at with cats, so specifically with Bear and even dogs too, is when we're getting those upper respiratory infections, we're noticing that energy shift. We have to go back to the immune system. We know that the immune system is directly affected by chronic stress or high stress burden. That's why if you've ever been like me, I'm just getting over from being ill, where you go through a lot of stress, right? And you're just powering through, and then you take a moment to take a breath, and maybe you go on vacation and then you get sick, right? Your body's okay, here's this is from your stress, and now you're going to be sick because you overworked yourself. And so that's where a lot of times these cats are animals that are feeling that stress that's happening. We need to support their upper respiratory, or we need to support their immune systems more. So that's going to be making sure that we're feeding optimal food. We can use things like pre and probiotics. We can use things like spirulina or chlorophyll supplements. Dr. Mercola has a great one that I use for my own cats, Spirit Green, that you can just crush up and put in the food, and they tend to eat that really well. And that's going to help boost the local gut immunity. It's going to help with that sympathetic nervous system overdrive. It's going to speak to the vagus nerve that's connecting with the brain, and that whole connection in the body. What we're doing is we're looking at how do we bring it back into homeostasis, back into balance once again. And so, using the upper respiratory infections, using the things that are going to help calm that down, like your Viralex supplements. There's a lot of different supplements you can use, but don't forget about what is the root cause of this, and how do we treat that, and how do we support that. And once again, doing the things that are going to help us as we go through these stages where, sometimes we go through the depression, and what are the different little tools and tactics we can use that help bring ourselves up for a little bit during the day that our cat will feel, and it'll help their energy and their immune system also. So I'd look at a couple of those things and integrate those in if Sarah's not already doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said that we don't want to point blame at ourselves. We just want to be cognitive of the fact that our stress affects our cats. And so that, we need to do the things that we need to do for ourselves in order for our cats to, feel that.
I know we're running out of time, but Julianne, I just wanted to ask, do you have, and we know we're going through something stressful, or we've got something coming up, maybe it is the holidays for us, and we know that we're going to have tons of family over that we're like, I don't know, and our cats aren't used to this. Are there things, do you personally do things proactively, finding that spot? Are there particular herbs that you use that your cats? I'm not making fun. I genuinely love it.
I know what you're trying to say. So right. Yes, absolutely. So and just to go back to Dr. Katie's point, we're all doing the best that we can in any moment, and we have to remember that, even if things seem really hard, really crappy, or things are really great and we're really happy, we are all trying our best, and take comfort that is enough when you do that for yourself. So just sending some love to Sarah there, and thank you for putting your comment and sharing with us what's happening. So back to the question from Adrienne. Yes, there are particular herbs. So for Leo, he's very, very nervous. He's very timid. So I generally put down nurturing herbs. And I've got a garden which is called Uplifting, and it's got some really emotionally supportive ones. So it's got Angelica, violet leaf, lemon balm, and it's really a question of saying to him, these are here if you need it, so Angelica root opens the cat up to healing. So that's in quite a lot of my gardens, because like I said, cats being a predator and a prey animal, it takes them a while to lean into healing. In fact, whatever modality that may be, you might not receive results straight away, because the cat needs a while to adjust to the change in energy, the change in, what's happening with their routine, etc. But for me, it's about making sure that there's things in place if they need it. And sometimes I do, after doing a workshop with Pam, I do some muscle testing for Leo, and we'll figure out whether I think he needs nurturing, because I'm a cat mum, and I want to just smother myself in my babies. But Leo's not an affectionate cat. He used to be feral. He's not used to humans. I'm lucky if I get a bit of a nose boop or a pillow cuddle from him. So I thought, I'll put down nurturing herbs. Actually, that's not always what he wants. Sometimes he needs warming herbs. So we put down some ginger root, because he actually in his body, he's got asthma. He needs something to get his chi moving and get the energy going. Other times, if he's having a bit of a flare up, I still go to nurturing herbs like rose and angelica and jasmine. But again, it's generally not what he needs. He will have the calming ones, which is like chamomile and the valerian. So there's a real there's a real variation. I have 20 herbs, and there are more, like Dr. Katie said, whether you're using them for Western herbs or Chinese, Eastern herbs, there are so many out there. And I was really cautious to make sure that I could get organic so that they're not treated with anything. They're safe if they're ingested. And yeah, I generally will put down nurturing, but it's not always what he wants.
Yeah.
Yay.
Can I hop in here real quick and share something? Sarah, I was just thinking, since you say this always comes around at this time of year, what I've seen lately is that cats who have like weaker immune systems, there are certain trees, like specifically juniper tree and elm tree, if those are in your area, or if those tree, I don't want to call it pollens, but maybe just their, whatever it is that they're giving off in their environment can really affect the respiratory systems, immune systems of cats. And so you might have some sneezing and some upper respiratory symptoms and stuff like that. I would look at using homeopathy, because I mean, you can match the symptom to the remedy. And if you know it's coming, and if there's juniper trees in your area or elm tree in your area, it might just be that those are the trees that bother him, and you can address that really, really easily with homeopathy.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I know we have to wrap it up, but I could keep talking. There's like so much going through my head. We could keep talking forever. So many questions. One thing we did not address is color therapy. And Pam, I know that you do a lot of color therapy. Can you name a couple colors that everyone could during the holiday put down a blanket, a towel, something like that for cats that are a little bit more stressed?
Yeah. So if cats are like really thrown off of their schedule, and they just seem real anxious, and the color green is very grounding. And so just put on like a medium green, Kelly green, something. It can be a piece of paper. It can be a plant that you set next to them. It can be clothing, a towel, a blanket, a pillow, just something that has that color, because color gives off a vibrational frequency. They don't have to be able to see the color, and that's the cool thing. You just set the color there, and they are attracted to the energy of that color. So they'll sit on it, they'll sleep on it, or whatever. If they're in a really frightful situation, like car rides, vet visits, like baby blue is very calming because it's for fear-based responses. So if your situation is more fear-based, maybe go with the baby blue. And if it's more just like their schedules are all being messed up, and you have all these people coming in and out, and they're just like, I don't even want to leave underneath the bed, use color green and see how that works for them.
Nice.
Yeah, easy.
All right, so I'm thinking, I'm with Jay, we could talk forever, but let's go around the horn. I want everyone to know where to find you. Any closing thoughts that you have, something that we forgot to touch on, or anything that comes to mind. I think this is one of the conversations that could literally go on forever, but just so everyone knows where to find you, and any closing thoughts that you have. Pam, let's start with you again.
Okay, so I'm at perfectlyholistic.com. It's PURRR, perfectlyholistic.com. And we also have an online store just for cats with services and merchandise and all sorts of natural supplements and all these cool things. One of the things that I was just thinking of for digestive upsets this season, keep Arsenicum album 30C on hand. And that's for like if they eat something that doesn't agree with them food-wise. If they ingest something that's like a non-food thing, maybe it's drinking the water from the Christmas tree, or something, or might be some chemical or something like that. Nux vomica 30C would be something I would keep on hand.
Yes, and try to keep your cat from drinking that.
Yeah, definitely keep from drinking drink water. You just never know what they're going to get into, if it's something weird, or if they eat, something they shouldn't eat. But food-wise, arsenicum, chemical or otherwise, it would be Nux vomica.
Arsenica album and Nux vomica, both 30C?
30C is general, yeah.
Also, I heard the next vomica is good for hangovers.
Hangovers, yes, for people.
Hopefully your cat doesn't have a hangover.
Definitely keep some of that on hand. Yeah.
All on hand. Julianne.
So thank you everyone for this. It's been an absolutely wonderful experience, and I'd love to do it again. So you can find me at Naturally Cats. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, just at Naturally Cats. My website is www.naturallycats.co.uk. I've got a shop, like Pam said, got a shop, and I do herb gardens. So I've got 10 different gardens. I've also got a calming Christmas selection box right now, and an advent calendar, 12-day advent calendar with different herbs as well. Faces. So basically I do ship to the US before anybody asks. And my top tip for everybody would be to get a towel or a blanket, put it in a quiet space, and put down either one of my gardens, or if you can't get a hold of it, then I would put down some valerian root, some chamomile, some organic non-treated rosebuds, and probably a little bit of catnip if your cat enjoys it. So you've got a nice mixture of easy to get hold of herbs, and it gives your cat the opportunity to calm, to self-soothe, and to kind of take some time away. So I'm going to leave it at that, because otherwise I will just ramble on. Over to Katie.
Love this so much.
We've got to do this again. And Dr. Katie, I know that we have the pleasure of meeting with you again next week.
Yes,
to talk
guys,
about,
mark your calendars. Do not miss this. Next
yes.
week, we are going to be talking about all things prescription diets with Dr. Katie Woodley.
Yes.
We're super excited
Yes,
about
I'm
it.
very grateful
Great
that you're taking
topic.
some time to talk with everyone about that. Such an important topic. But for today, let everyone know where you're at and any closing thoughts you have.
Yeah, thank you so much, ladies. It's been a real pleasure being here. So I'm Dr. Katie Woodley. You can find me at thenaturalpetdoctor.com. We do telehealth consultations. We have some stuff in our store if you want to go that route. But make sure you're following us on Facebook, YouTube, and also Instagram. We have a lot of free content on how to help your pets and how to integrate in more holistic options. My biggest advice is, what's one thing you can do to start taking care of yourself better? Is that something like a gratitude, or making a short journal, or sitting down at night and taking a moment to help yourself, to ground yourself for a good night's sleep? And then also, I want to hear about how everyone's cat head massages go. So those would be, I know that's two things, but I want to make sure everyone's doing something to help themselves, since if you weren't aware of before, now you know that we're so interconnected, and your energy does affect your cats. And so let's take some time out for ourselves this holiday season also.
Yes.
I love you guys so much.
You guys are amazing.
I have to say, we keep talking about being grounded and the energy and spending this time with you guys has just been, I got the butterflies.
Yes. Now she's going to have diarrhea.
No. No diarrhea for me.
Hopefully not. It's not the stress kind. So
That's a great point to end.
That's the good kind. Trisha asked if Dr. Katie's your new crush.
Yes, Dr. Katie is our new absolutely crush. Sorry, Becker.
We're just so grateful for all of you guys. Thank you again, Pam, for this beautiful idea and this amazing opportunity to get to sit and just be with all of you today. And everyone that has joined us as well. I'm definitely looking forward to doing this again sometime.
Yes.
So we'll have to.
We would love to have you
check
all
our
back
schedules
soon.
Absolutely.
Once a quarter at least, I reckon. Definitely.
Yes,
Oh,
I agree. It's so much fun. Okay. Love you guys. Love you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We will see you soon.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.